This demonstration is entitled Clinical Trials. In this demonstration, we've downloaded over 130,000 XML clinical trial documents from the clinicaltrials.gov website and have imported them into a TC-SQL soft schema. In this demonstration, we will feature two primary use cases of a tool called Clinical Trials. Use case number one. Given a single patient in a hospital and their collection of clinical records, we will derive the set of potential clinical trial candidates for that patient. Use case number two. Given a single clinical trial, we will derive the set of potential patient candidates for that single clinical trial.
This demonstration features a healthcare example, one of clinical trials. In the bottom window here, we see clinicaltrials.gov website here. It indicates that there are currently over 161,000 clinical trials sponsored by clinicaltrials.gov. In the right, we see a Microsoft SQL Server Query Analyzer window, and this is a query that counts the number of clinical trials that we've loaded. We've loaded most of these, but not all of them. And it indicates we currently have loaded 132,000 clinical trials. In the upper right, we see an XML document. This is typically what is returned when you download one of the results from clinicaltrials.gov. And so we've loaded over 132,000 XML documents of this nature here. In the upper left, we have an application that allows you to run queries on the clinical trials. So for example here, I can specify conditions such as type 1 diabetes. And what is returned here are all of the clinical trials that have something to do with diabetes. And the way that's determined is that if you look at this XML document, there's a section in here that talks about conditions here. So this is used to determine which clinical trials are candidates. Okay, let's look at a second kind of query here. I can specify a patient number. So imagine you have every patient in your hospital and you want to find out for a particular patient what clinical trials are applicable for that patient. So I'll type in a number here. And so it indicates for this particular patient, there were 313 candidate clinical trials that were potentially appropriate for this particular patient here. Another thing we can do is the following. I can specify a particular clinical trial number here. And what this returned is the following. For the following clinical trial, these are the people in the hospital that this clinical trial may be appropriate. And so what you can imagine here is that for a single clinical trial, you can find all the patients in the hospital that clinical trial is appropriate. You can do the inverse kind of query. For a given patient, find all of the clinical trials that are applicable to this person. Now, the nice thing about this particular application is that it's not specific to any electronic healthcare record system. The key here is it is important that you map records in an electronic healthcare record system into a canonical form, which is what is featured here using TC-SQL technology.